Welcome back to Broussard Homestead, where today we're going to talk about storing your dry goods for as long as possible without using electricity. Whether it's rice or beans or flour, sugar, or if your lady dehydrates as much as mine does, we've got a lot of these jars laying around that are filled with dry goods, and we want to keep them as fresh as possible for as long as possible. I have to admit, when it comes to using this thing, I sat on my hands for a long time because I didn't know what I was doing. And then just recently, Amy and I decided to go ahead and look it up on YouTube. There are other videos out there on how to use it. This is a brake bleeder, commonly used for the brake system on vehicles when you're working on them yourself. And it's an excellent off-grid solution for vacuum sealing the jars that have all of these dry goods in them. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing down below, because we are so close to 5,000 subscribers and we intend to do a giveaway when we get there. So be sure and stick around and watch for that video as well. What really got us off of our butts to try out this system and use this method of vacuum sealing the canning jars is when we started having trouble with our food saver. Now, this is the attachment that's sold for the food saver. There's a hose that attaches to one of these at a time, and this is a vacuum seal attachment for the wide mouth jars and one for the regular mouth jars. Now, typically, this hose would attach here and the other end would be in your food saver machine. But today, we're not using the food saver, so we don't need that hose. What we will need out of the brake bleeder system kit is just a few pieces. Obviously, the brake bleeder itself, and then we're going to take one of these long hoses and one of these pointed attachments here. That's going to go right inside there. On one end of the hose, and the other end goes on this end of the machine. And that's all we need out of this. So it didn't make sense to me, because this is a hard plastic tip and these are also hard plastic. It didn't make sense to me that we would get a good seal right here, but we do. It blew my mind. Now, everything here was sent to us by an amazing subscriber. Thank you so much. You know who you are. And we're going to include links to the brake bleeder set, the food saver jar attachment set, as well as the silica gel desiccant packs that we use just to extend the life of the dry goods and make sure that no moisture builds up inside of those. Those three links you can find down in the description below. This job can be done with one person, but many hands make light work. So Amy is here with me and we're gonna do this together. So all you really need is, we'll see, we have those desiccant packs down inside of the dehydrated. This is broccoli that Amy has done. We've got a couple of desiccant packs that we threw down in there.
We're going to take the canning lid and a blue paper towel with a little tiny bit of vinegar sprayed on it. And you want to wipe the seal just to make sure that there's no debris on it. And then you're going to wipe the rim of the jar just as if you would be canning.
Now this is just barely moist because we want it to air dry before we vacuum seal it. That lid goes on, and then the regular mouth, for some reason, these give some trouble. If you have trouble with it making the vacuum seal, you can always take, this is something else that we found online. It's a troubleshooting method that really works. Take another scrap canning jar lid, throw it in upside down in there, and then the whole thing goes right on top of there. Now I'm gonna pump and Amy's gonna hold it on in the hole.
You just hold it completely perpendicular.
Right, and it doesn't take a whole lot of muscle. You're just holding it in place.
No, but if you tilt it at an angle, then it won't grab a suction. So you want to make sure and hold it completely straight up and down.
Now this, we're just going to pump, and as we pump, you can see there's a gauge on there that shows vacuum pressure, and we want to go between 15 and 20. And it doesn't take long, and it really doesn't take a whole lot of muscle here either. So if you see, we're about 18 there. And when we remove this, you hear the little bit of suction because the air above the lid releases out of the hole.
And it sometimes comes apart when you take it off.
So now you see that button is pressed and we've got a vacuum inside of that jar. So let's do a wide mouth one. This one is lemon slices that Amy has dehydrated. And this works on any size jar. Half pint, pint, quart, half gallon. Because all the lids are standard. You've either got regular mouth lid or you've got wide mouth lid. And you have attachments for both. So the wide mouth lid goes on the wide mouth jar. And see, this is a rubber gasket. And you noticed on that one it came out, but it just goes right back in. Just like so. Right on there like that. And I'll do this one by myself so that you can see just how easy it is. Just a little downward pressure down here just to make sure that it's sealed, and we pump. And we're about 18 or 19 there. And sealed. And it's just that easy. Now these we like to store with the rings on. This would be a great time to mention that this method is not at all a replacement for pressure canning or water bathing. This would be a good method for dry goods only.
One thing I've learned is when doing powdered goods, this is powdered eggs that we've dehydrated. A lot of times the powder gets pulled up along the rim of the jar and it can break your seal. So I'll wipe them real good with I use blue shop towels because there's no lint on those, and it's sprayed with a little tiny bit of vinegar. Make sure there's no residue on the jar, and then you use paper cupcake holders and just slide it down into just barely into the jar so it goes beyond the rim, and that keeps the powder from being pulled up, and then you can seal it as normal. And it's sealed.